Good morning, all. I would like to, at today's meeting, the public hearing that we are having, our Joint Select Committee that we are hearing, it's the 12th meeting of the Joint Select Committee on Local Authorities, Service Commissions, and Statutory Authorities, including the THA, in the 12th Parliament. This meeting is being recorded for subsequent broadcast on the Parliament channel. And this is our committee's third public hearing pursuant to our inquiry into the institutional strengthening initiatives of the Service Commissions Department. The committee met previously with the Public Service Commission on March the 2nd, 2022, and the Teaching Service Commission on April the 13th, 2022. And today we are extremely pleased to have before us the officials of the Police Service Commission and the Office of the Director of Personnel Administration. I would like now to welcome all those present, and I would like the members of the Police Service Commission to please introduce yourselves and also members of your committee. We will start with the Police Service Commission.
Good morning. I'm Judith Jones, and I'm the chairman of the Police Service Commission.
Good morning. I'm Ian Ramdani, member of the Police Service Commission.
Good morning. I am Maxine Atong, member of the Police Service Commission.
Morning. Do you have any members available, Ms. Kavita? So we have 3 members there. Okay. Would members from the Office of the Director of Personnel Administration please introduce yourselves?
Good morning. My name is Corey Harrison, Director of Personnel Administration.
Good morning. Helen Warner, Acting Deputy Director of Personnel Administration, Service Commissions Department.
Good morning. So good morning to all.
One more. We have one more member.
Sure.
More member.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Kavita Basrat, Assistant Director in charge of Monitoring and Evaluation and Research and Evaluation.
Thank you for your presence. And I would like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Ramadi Al-Singh. I'm an independent senator and the chair of this committee. And at this stage, I'd like to invite my members to introduce themselves.
Good morning, Janzi Lachmidial, member.
Good morning, everyone. Ayana Webster-Roy, member.
Member Lisa Morris.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Member Lisa Morris Julian.
And Member De Freitas, Nigel De Freitas.
Morning, Mr. Chair. I introduced myself already.
Okay. Okay, so this morning, the objectives of this inquiry is to, one, to examine and assess the administrative and operational changes that have been implemented at the Service Commissions Department during the past 3 years. 2, to evaluate the impact of these administrative and operational changes on the ability of the Service Commissions, with the exception of the JSC, to execute their constitutional responsibilities. 3, to obtain insights into the plans and proposals aimed at further improving the institutional capacity of the Service Commissions Department. And 4, to examine the factors and conditions that are hindering the successful implementation of organizational transformation measures at the Service Commissions Department. At this stage, I would like to invite the chairman of the Police Service Commission, Justice Judith Jones, to give us some brief opening statements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning again, Chairman and members of the committee. As indicated earlier, I'm Judith Jones. I'm the chairman of the Police Service Commission. The other members of the commission are Ms. Maxine Atong and Mr. Ian Ramgandhi, who are both present with us this morning, Ms. Maxine King and Mr. Rajiv Prasad. On behalf of the Police Service Commission, let me thank you for providing us with the opportunity of appearing before your committee this morning on the topic of institutional strengthening initiatives of the Service Commission's department. This commission was appointed to office on November 16, 2021. Unlike other commissions, as a result of the resignation of all the members of the past commission, all our members are new to the Police Service Commission. Given the lack of institutional knowledge, of necessity, this commission relies heavily on the input of the Service Commission's department and our secretariat. Indeed, to date, almost 6 months after our being sworn into office, we are still in the process of dealing with matters which have been left unattended while the past commission was incorrect and matters which arose as a result of the incidents of 2021. We note that the thrust of today's meeting centers on the adequacy of the resources allocated to the Commission, the state of the physical accommodation, and the performance appraisals for the Commissioner of Police and the Deputy Commissioner of Police. As you are aware, the Police Service Commission is serviced by the members of its Secretariat and the Service Commission's department. Much of the information requested by the committee today is not within the personal knowledge of this commission. It is in these circumstances that most of the questions of this morning will of necessity be answered by the acting director. Sorry, I must apologize to Mr. Harrison, the Director of Personnel Administration and his staff. The commission notes, however, the objectives of this inquiry, and in particular, that objective speaks to examining the factors and conditions that are hindering the successful implementation of the organizational transformation measures at the Service Commission's department. While the questions posed by this committee touch on some of the obstacles faced by the Commission, as for example, finance, the Commission wishes to highlight the need for the restructuring of the Commission in accordance with recommendations made since 2015. The appointment of staff to fill vacant positions, and the regularization of the terms and conditions of the members of the contract staff of the Secretariat. The Commission is of the firm view that until this is done, the Commission will be hard-pressed to effectively and efficiently meet its constitutional mandate. That said, through you, Mr. Chairman, the Commission wishes to publicly acknowledge the yeoman service provided to the Commission by the staff of the Secretariat and the Service Commission during the very trying experiences of 2021. Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you, Justice Judith Jones. And I think, you are now in a position where you have to try to build back public confidence into your institution. After the regrettable public discourse, following the recent unfortunate state of events, we cannot afford to let citizens of this nation lose confidence in our independent institution, which serves as guardians of our democracy to prevent any perceived administrative overreach. So at the end of the day, you know that Trinidad, I consider we have a vortex of crime in our country, and it's a public embarrassment not to have this office filled. And we have come a long way from persons acting for years in the post in limbo with no security of tenure. So it opens a dialogue of the possibility of an acting COP who has to depend on parliamentary approval or not want to rock the boat. So I think we all understand, due to the nature of the crime in the country, we have to get things right. And we need a commissioner of police, a deputy commissioner of police to stem this flow of crime. And your choice of providing capable men and women to provide leadership to our protective service, to protect and serve every single citizen despite their social status, geographical habitat, ethnicity, religious or political persuasion, and to investigate and bring charges to whoever breaches our laws without favoritism. And I think we really need an independent champion that we can have faith in. No process is foolproof, but we are hoping you can give us the individual who will deliver this for us. And we are hoping this forum this morning will be able to provide you with your tools to deliver the best candidate. So I thank you and your members for stepping in to at least go a stage further into this process to choose our leaders in the police service.
Senator Diaz-Singh, let me just thank you very much. I quite agree with everything that you have said, and it is a task that we recognize that is facing us. And on behalf of the Commission, let me say that we certainly will do our best. We are all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and we all recognize the importance of having persons that we can rely on and feel confident in at the head of our police service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Justice. At this stage, I would like Mr. Corey Harrison, the Director of Personnel Administration, to please give us some opening remarks.
Dear Chairman and members of the committee, I thank you for this opportunity to discuss with you again the institutional strengthening initiatives of the Service Commissions Department, and this time, how it applies to the constitutional functions of the Police Service Commission. The Service Commission has embarked on likening its operations to that of a business organization. By this parallel, I mean we are striving to provide value to our stakeholders and customers, who include the 4 commissions, the wider public service, the ministries and departments, and the national public. By this approach, we believe that the institutional strengthening initiatives would be an investment that would be able to provide valuable returns to the stakeholders and customers. However, we are cognizant of both our internal and external environment. We must pay attention to our budget allocations and whether it is sufficient to realize our success. We have embraced performance-based management not only at the individual level, but also at the departmental level. We are actively pursuing feedback in our customer experience. We have been stakeholders' engagement to determine the priority needs of our stakeholders. I can safely say this Police Service Commission have been engaging their stakeholders. The Commission have maintained their independence without isolation. The Service Commissions Department have engaged the PMCD of the Ministry of Public Admin to establish a modern organizational structure that is flexible and adaptable to the needs of the Police Service Commission. We have engaged a consultant to implement our electronic document management system, which has re-engineered our processes. And finally, we are embarking on a culture assessment, which would assist in guiding a culture that embodies our core values. Unfortunately, many of these initiatives are outside the direct control of the Service Commission Department. We require an all-hands-on-deck approach in order for the department to be successful. I conclude by saying the department has enthusiastic, committed, and very capable staff who are eager to propel the SCD to the next level. We have recognized the necessity for change and is striving to achieve same. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corey Harrison. Mr. Harrison, we seem to be meeting very regularly in our meetings, right? So, yeah, and you see, and I wonder that you have to provide so much, administrative staff even to see the proper runnings of these commissions. And I was also wondering, do you have enough staff? But you mentioned you have enough staff to do this, because it's really a great effort to be servicing these independent bodies. So I commend you for your efforts so far. And as I say, if you need help, you have to reach out also to see if your department may need further staff or whatever.
Thank you, Chairman.
At this stage, I would like to remind members, committee members and officials to direct their questions through the chair. Also to remind members and officials to kindly activate the microphone on their devices when they are acknowledged by their chair and turn it off when they have concluded their contribution. So let us start. Madam Justice Judith Jones, I commend you for stepping into this process to at least give us that confidence. And I want to ask you, Madam, in terms of the staff that you have available presently, and I mean, you are now, I know you have still will be having problems trying to assess what you have available because you're relatively new, your commission is relatively new, and you are still being able to feel what you need, what other help or assistance you may need to get your proper running of your commission. But at this stage, could you, somebody from your department, give us an idea about the amount of staff you have available to you and what different departments? I don't know if it's you or the DPA would be able to direct that question.
I think the DPA will deal with this question with the answer, and I will add anything that becomes necessary.
Chair, members, thank you. Basically, we have a police secretariat who provides technical as well as administrative support to the Police Service Commission. This staff, this group of persons is headed by myself, as well as we have an executive director, HRM, who directly interacts with the members of the Police Service Commission. We also have staff within the administrative, the legal, and appeals body, as well as the monitoring and evaluation and publication units. This complement of staff provides that, as I said, administrative and technical support to the Secretariat, which falls under the banner of the Service Commission's department. As we speak now, we are engaging the Ministry of Public Admin for us to be able to regularize these staff members. Currently, there are some on short-term contract and some of them on month-to-month contract. As it relates to the complement and talking about numbers, I think we are sufficient with numbers. However, we need to regularize the members of staff so that they would have some level of tenure with the Secretariat.
Thank you. Sorry.
If you'd allow me. Yes, as I indicated earlier, the Commission is very concerned about the regularization of the members of staff. But I also want to say that we are concerned as well that the recommendations for the restructuring have not as yet borne fruit. It's important for us, in order to fulfill our mandate, that we have the restructured organization up and running on a, perhaps, I don't want to say a personal level, but really, one of the things that we have encountered, for example, in trying to deal with the day-to-day running of the Commission, is our attempts to tackle the appeal backlog. And that's one example of where we are in dire straits with respect to staff. The unit is poorly staffed, and it makes our ability to clear that backlog extremely difficult. So that I know I'm hoping that our plea here will fall on fertile ground, and we can get the restructuring on board so that we can fulfill our mandate.
Thank you, Madam. So DP, I have a question. Do you have a timeline for the hiring of those staff for the regularization and the PMCD?
well, in discussions with the Ministry of Public Admin, we anticipate that it would be concluded by the end of June.
And Madam Justice, the appeals, the staff you're looking at, are you looking for like attorneys, in-house attorneys to handle those appeals? Is it that, could you give us an idea the complement of staff that you may need to try to, expedite the appeals that you have before you?
I think what we are looking for are mainly two types of, two categories of staff. We need case management officers. It's clear there that in order to, of course, bring appeals from filing to conclusion, we have to have persons who are experienced in case management. And the other thing that is causing some difficulty to us now are transcriptionists. It's absolutely necessary for us to have the hearings transcribed, particularly since we are now doing virtual hearings. And we particularly need those two categories of staff.
Thank you. I think Member Lachmidial, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of questions actually about staffing. Let me start with where Madam Justice Jones spoke about the appeal backlog. You mentioned as well in your submission that a number of appeals were restarted. Do you have the information, Judge, about the amount of matters in backlog and the number of matters that had to be restarted when the commission was reconstituted?
I'm not sure if I'm not sure we have the exact numbers here, but we can certainly provide that in writing to you. What I can say is that with respect to the restarting of matters, there were a few matters in which the past commission had heard the appeals, but went out of office before decisions were given. So those were the matters that had to be done. You would appreciate that difficulty.
Of course. Yes.
Of course, the backlog again. You can give specifics with respect to the numbers involved.
Yes, I think that would be helpful for us to know the numbers involved, so we can appreciate the gravity of the situation, as it's one of the matters you highlighted, as well as the de novo matters, because we would want to know the impact on the commission and perhaps, the timelines. So if there's any plan, I don't know if there's any plan particularly that you all have. I know you mentioned a transcriptionist, which is, of course, essential. Is there any immediate plans that you all have that could assist with the clearing of the backlog?
Well, let me say that we have in fact started work on the matters that we were required to be heard de novo, because we really felt that, even with the situation with staff, it was important at least for those matters to get them off the ground. So we have started doing that. We have, while we don't have a case management officer, we have someone who has operated in the system and can help. And it's very commendable, the efforts made by that member of staff. And with respect to transcriptionists, we now have a clerk typist assigned to the unit who is doing her best with respect to providing the transcripts, but you would appreciate that it's not the ideal situation. But we have started dealing with those matters.
You mentioned through you, Mr. Chair, in the submission of the Police Service Commission, you mentioned two things that I wanted to find out about. The new function, additional function, based on the legal notices of having recruitment and selection. Now, my reading of the 2015 order as amended, and then the new orders of 183, then revoked on 277 and 278, a firm had originally, there was a mandate to have a firm. My reading of the new legal notices, it isn't mandated, but I don't think it's prohibited for the commission to ask for a firm to participate in this recruitment and selection exercise. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But has the commission considered the use of a firm, one? Two, my question would be when the legal notices were redrafted, I don't know if the DPA may be able to answer this, but whether or not the additional funding needed and staff needed to perform that recruitment and selection process, seeing that the firm was no longer mandated, whether this was taken into consideration and whether there was any representation made by the DPA about the new requirements that amended legal notice of 183 would require. And secondly, if you could give us a timeline with respect to the, if you have any timeline or any information about the new structure which has been submitted to PMCD for consideration.
Let me perhaps start just very briefly with the first part of the question. And I think that was basically the legal notice. And let me just say that the Commission is actively considering the recruitment and selection process. On a personal level, I tend to agree with you with respect to your interpretation of the legislation. But again, we are still in the process of discussing and coming to positions with respect to the recruitment and selection process. But I recognize that one of the considerations with respect to how we proceed will of necessity be finance as well. So that in our considerations, we're going to have to be satisfied that if we do not go out, that we can properly conduct the exercise internally. And if we can't, then we're going to have to find the money. Mr. Harrison, I'm sure will. Yeah.
So I think that takes me, through you, Mr. Chair, that takes me to the second question, whether the availability of the money to either do it in-house or to go outside, whether the consideration, because of course, under the previous legal notice where you had the mandatory sort of clause about using a firm, I presume that funds would have been identified for that. And if it is that it was now an option to bring it in-house, whether the thought of moving budgets around and making adjustments to have the in-house competency there, whether that was considered prior to the drafting and passage of legal notice 183.
Ms. Lachidiyal, before I pass you to the BPA, I just want to say that, of course, another consideration is for us is also the need to have this done as soon as possible, given all the constraints. I think we all recognize that having persons acting in particularly in the posts as sensitive, as important as a commissioner and deputy commissioners of police is not the best.
Of course, and in my experience, when you talk about things going to PMCD, that and as soon as possible don't usually go hand in hand. So that's why I'm asking about the timeline as well and whether consideration was given before about the in-house competence. So perhaps I don't know if the DPA can assist us there.
Chair and members, I could probably provide some guidance. Service Commission's department, while it is the expertise may not have been residing at the Police Service Commission Secretariat, we do have that capacity in-house. We have currently recruited positions like puisne judges, chief fire officer, commissioner of prisons, very tough public service positions in the public service. So therefore, we do have the capacity in-house that we'll be able to transfer to the Secretariat, the Police Service Commission Secretariat, in order for us to have the recruitment and selection of a commissioner/deputy commissioner of police. However, as the chair mentioned, the issue of finances was critical, and therefore the legislation did not provide a mandate for utilizing a firm. The Commission may decide to utilize a firm, or they may decide to use the expertise within. But we do have that expertise within, where it is we can provide a competent assessment, where it is we can recruit the Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police. I hope I responded accordingly.
Okay, well, and with respect to our timeline for the proposals that were sent to PMCD, would you be able to answer that?
Well, I indicated we are anticipating that by the end of June, we'll be able to get some feedback.
Okay. Thank you. I'll give way, Mr. Chair. I have other questions and other sections.
Thank you, member. So I'd like to direct this question to the Director of the Personnel Administration. You stated that the premature dissolution of the previous Police Service Commission resulted in severe financial loss. What was the total amount of money spent on the recruitment process up to its premature end?
I'm not understanding that question as it relates to the premature end of the police service.
Yeah. Well, let me direct this question to the Police Service Commission, right? That at page 3, I think in your submission, this is the. Yeah. You stated that the premature dissolution of the previous Police Service Commission resulted in severe financial loss. Could you elaborate on the total amount of monies that was lost?
I will pass you on to Ms. Warner, who would respond to that question.
Good morning, everyone. The statement related really to what the department spent on the process. So we would have engaged consultants to assist in certain people.
Excuse me, ma'am, you're sounding a bit muffled. If you could tip. Yes, thank you.
So the statement related to what the department would have had to spend in order to execute the process. So we had to engage persons to set some of the papers. We had consultants, HR consultants, and when we made the statement, it was at a loss because the whole process ended. So it would have been money that we would have had to spend during the process that eventually nothing came out of it. So it was in that context that statement was made.
Have you calculated that loss?
So we yes, $124,725.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, and in terms of the fact that the last Police Service Commission had to seek help outside to get, I think it was Price Waterhouse. Yeah, I think for the recruitment process. When that, they were no longer hiring out to these service providers, the impression I got is this would have saved money from the country, and also it could have expedited the process of getting a police commissioner. Is the fact that we don't have that ability to hire out this, or we are not, in fact, hiring out any persons to do this search for us. I'm trying to find out the money saved from that, if it would have come into the Police Service Commission, to be able now to get your own staff on contract to help that determinant factor in your research to find a capable candidate. Good.
I'm a little unclear, but what I can see, what I can see, it was considerably less. The last, and I'm talking about the process for COP that was disbanded, of course, that was considerably less. Now, when we talk about not using a firm, before the entire process went out to the firm and the commission got in at the, where it was supposed to. What we did go out for consultants because notwithstanding what the DPA said that we have the competencies, yes, but remember the core competence of policing does not reside in the Service Commissions Department. So in those areas, we would have had to go out. So while we are not using an entire firm, we still need to consult with experts in that area for setting some of the assessments. So right now it's a combination in order to really have a robust process to get the right person.
Chair, I can just jump in slightly. The issue for the commission now is how do we conduct the recruitment and selection process. As indicated, finance is always a consideration, finance and time, always a consideration. Our options, and again, I'm speaking for myself, our options are, yes, at this stage, we can engage a firm to do it on our behalf, or we can create a hybrid system in that the service department can provide some expertise, and we can determine that the expertise that cannot be provided by the service commission, that we employ those persons. At present, the commission is considering the options. So these are options that are open to us. We are, literally at present considering the options. So, we have started at our last statutory meeting. We continue tomorrow at our next statutory meeting, and we are looking at all the options, weighing them. And as I say again, important to us is the question of time, the question of the state of the country, and of course the question of finance. But we want to ensure that whatever we do, we get it right. So I don't know if that has helped.
Yes, definitely it has. Before I go on to a question Ms. Lochvidial wanted to pose, Ms. Helen Warner, could you please repeat the figures you mentioned before about the cost, because somehow it was not clearly heard by some members.
Yes, Chair, it is on page 3 of our submission, and it was 124,725.
Thank you. Ms. Lochvidial, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Through you, I don't think the present members of the Commission will be able to answer this, but perhaps the Service Commissions Department or the DPA can indicate the persons listed in that table in your submission who were paid with respect to the last Commissioner of Police recruitment process, the total cost being close 124,725. The bulk of those monies was spent on 4 persons who were recruited, I presume, as consultants. Could you tell us what's the process used to identify these persons and recruit them and select them to assist the Commission in the process of recruiting and selecting a Commissioner of Police? Is it a tendering process? Is it the recruit process? How are these persons selected? So that's one. And secondly, one of the things that came forward in the submission was that funds were not available and there was a late payment of most of these expenses. What is the current amount of funding allocated and would be made available to this Police Service Commission as they are considering their options now with respect to the process that has to take place to appoint a permanent Commissioner of Police? Are funds available and how much funds are available?
Yeah, for you. Could we respond to that question in writing? Because we have a proper tendering process and we could indicate the proper process in writing, as well as we could give you the figures, which is outstanding.
Yeah, sure. We'll do it.
Right. Under the now, through you, Mr. Chair, the 4 persons listed here, well, persons and entities listed here, one being paid approximately $36,000 and so on for the scrapped process, participating in the scrap process. If a firm had been recruited, would these costs would have been part of, or would these service providers, would the services provided by them been captured by the firm? And what the firm was supposed to do under the 2015 order?
Yes, it would have been. Yes.
Yes. So you see, my concern is that under the 2015 order, you went through Central Tenders Board and there was a process detailed in the order whereby persons were recruited. So I'm concerned now that we are still using persons outside of the Service Commission to provide certain services that obviously do not reside in-house. But I'm concerned about the process being used to select those persons when you're still, although you said it's considerably less, it's still close to $125,000 being spent. And to make matters worse, $125,000 that was spent for really a list that had a process that had to be scrapped eventually. So I'm concerned, and I would like to get some more information about the process being used to identify those persons who are being paid external, and also, yes, the funding that would be available. Because if what Madam Justice Jones said is, that they are considering, I think a major factor that they would have to consider is what is available in terms of how they proceed to conduct this exercise that is so important for us to do. So if we could get that information, I think it would be helpful to us.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Member. I would like to get an answer from the Police Service Commission in terms of the online platform for submission of applicants. In your first submission, which was received on February 23rd, 2020, you stated that the Police Service Commission rely on an in-house built online platform, which facilitated the submission of applicants by candidates for screening and shortlisting. So my question to you is, when was this online platform established by the ICT department of the service of the SCD?
This one, I will take this question.
So the platform was built for the Service Commission's department in 2021. We used it first in the end of 2020 to 2021. We used it first for the positions of 5, the inaugural positions actually. Use of the system was for the positions of Chief 5 officers and mainly the First Division officers. So that started. We subsequently used it for other offices 2021. And when the opportunity came for the recruitment of a commissioner of police and the time frame in which that commission wanted it done, everything fell into place at that point, and we utilized it with some tweaking. Our ICT unit adapted it for our usage. So in 2021, that was used for the Commissioner of Police, but the system was built in 2020. It was something that the ICT unit was, for want of a better word, playing around with. COVID, of course, would have urged that into existence much sooner than we anticipated. So in 2020 it started. 2021 we were able to use it for other officers as well as Commissioner of Police.
And will it be sustained?
Yes, I certainly. It has been sustained. We have been using it. Daily, and it carries the bulk of the recruitment processes for the Public Service Commission, Teaching Service also, and of course Judicial and Legal Service Commission as well. So yes, it will sustain.
I don't know if the present Police Service Commission would have had been in office, long enough. But I'm trying to figure: has the Police Service Commission noted an increase in the efficiency of its recruitment process through the use of this online platform?
Yes, but perhaps I can indicate that in terms of the present commission, we have not as yet utilized it. So I don't know if you may want an answer which would deal with the last recruitment process, and then if that's the position, perhaps this board could answer that. But insofar as the present commission is concerned, we intend to use it, but we have not yet had the experience of using it.
Chair, what it is I would add as well is that the online recruitment system was implemented at the Service Commission's department, which would feed all 4 commissions. Police Service Commission has not utilized, this current Police Service Commission has not utilized it as yet. However, to to respond to your question about the efficiency and effectiveness of it, we can attest to the fact that the process timeline that was given to the department was approximately 2 months, and we were able to fulfill the recruitment process within the 2 months time frame for the last Police Service Commission.
So we can gather from what has been happening in the other commissions, this platform could be beneficial if utilized.
Yes, it would be beneficial if utilized.
Chair, through you, may I ask a question on the ICT platform, please?
Sure, member.
TPA, you mentioned part of the submission, it talked about the timeframe didn't allow for robust testing and contingencies by the ICT unit. In the last recruitment process by the former Police Service Commission, were there hiccups? I expect that there would be in any ICT system, but were there any substantial difficulties experienced, and have those since been resolved? Seeing that we have some downtime now, have those issues been resolved, and are there contingencies in place now in the event that there are issues with the online platform?
Since then, as we said, the platform was used for other offices. The ICT unit would have put measures in place to track issues that occurred, particularly with the COP exercise on the last occasion. We were able to develop a lessons learned document so that would have fed into ICT's actions in improving the system. So there was some tweaking to be done, further testing as the report said, and that was because ICT was continuing their agile methodology allowed them to continuously improve the database. The system. One other thing we also, what we learned from it also is that better sensitization for the applicants, because some of the applicants did not complete the application form as we'd have wanted it. And that led to, some misinformation, which we cleared up. In terms of our communication, that was another area that we knew that we had to improve in how we communicated different steps of the process. That took into consideration. So working with ICT, we were able, and evident in the other uses of the system, we have been able to make some changes as we go along. And it is a new 2020, it is a new system. It was in-house built. So we anticipated problems, and we are looking, the ICT unit for the SED has been, really making great strides, and we have improved as we go along. So I anticipate if the system is used and when it's used next, we will take care of some of the problems that we encountered in the last time.
Thank you. Yeah. Mrs. Morris Julian, I think you had a question.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, I would like to direct this question regarding the recruitment process for the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of Police. What is the current status of the recruitment process for the Commissioner of Police and the Deputy Commissioners of Police?
At present, we are, in fact, looking at the process that we will adopt. I think, as indicated in the response to the questions, we anticipate that by the end of the second quarter of this year, advertisements will be out. And we will, of course, once the advertisements are out, the process will run smoothly, we hope. And we anticipate that, that should take us, I suppose that's the answer really, that's where we are. But at present, we are actually looking at the system, looking at the process to ensure that we can arrive at a process that will meet all the requirements. And I had indicated, the requirements of finance, time, transparency. I don't think I said transparency, but that as well. But I say we are really actively working on it. And end of the second quarter will be June, the end of June. We anticipate that there will be advertisements out by that time. I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you very much. Actually, you answered several questions that I wanted to follow up on. So thank you very much. Through you, Chairman, if I can just move on. Again, I noticed that you said the process, and is there variation from the process that was previously used? If so, could you tell us why? And also, is it possible that we can get an expected completion date, through you, Chairman, to Justice Jones?
There will be, of necessity, some differences in the process because, of course, the legal notice has changed. So our parameters are slightly different. Again, it's difficult for me to commit at this stage without the Commission actually taking a decision on how we will proceed. But I think I don't want to say that, can give because I suspect your question is asking me for an end date. Is that it? Yes. I don't want to.
Yes.
Yes. There are a number of matters that we have to consider, and there is a slight difference in the procedure as placed by the legislation, and of course, this is a new commission. Things that were done in the past may not be things that this commission may want to do, and in those circumstances, I hesitate prior to us making a decision to give an end date. Certainly, I think that we certainly will try to have something in place as soon as possible. And certainly, speaking for myself, I would hope that that certainly by the end of the year, we should have completed the process. But that's as best as I can assist, I'm afraid.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think Member Webster has a question, but before I engage that, I would still come in on the same track, Madam Justice. Your submissions outlined, I think, several limitations of legal notices, such as an ambiguity of terms, vagueness of minimum requirements, and the absence of an up-to-date job specification. I think, so has the Police Service Commission sought to engage in discussions with the DPA or the Office of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Legal Affairs with the aim of determining options for eliminating these ambiguities? So what I'm trying to say, are you consulted if there are any changes that the Ministry of Office of the Attorney General may want to make or the DPA may want to make? Because remember, at the end of the day, you may have had the experience of what may be needed for the best candidate.
Judge, you're still muted, so we're not hearing you.
Now, are you here?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah. All right. I'm going to have to ask the DPA to assist with respect to the job description portion of the question. When we say there are ambiguities, well, no, first of all, perhaps I can say that so far we have not been consulted with respect to the contents of the legal notices, but that could very well be given the circumstances under which this commission was appointed, and the need to, as quickly as possible, sort out the situation that we found ourselves in as a country. I certainly hope that in the future we will be consulted. with respect to ambiguities, I think perhaps maybe ambiguities is not quite the word. There were some gray areas, and that in particular with respect to the, just give me a second, the legislation makes reference to the qualifications of the candidates by reference to a master's degree, at least the candidates for the Commissioner of Police post, a master's degree, and they identify the areas and then say any other relevant degree. What we recognized was that there was no set policy with respect to how the Commission is going to treat with a degree and deem it to be a relevant degree. So the Commission spent some time and in developing a policy, what we call a relevancy policy, which is now has been approved by the Commission. It's now made public on our website and sent to our stakeholders, in particular the Commissioner of Police and the Police Welfare Association. So that hopefully has treated with that gray area of ambiguity. The second one, and we are in the process now of completing that exercise, is the question of both for the Commissioner of Police and the Deputy Commissioners of Police. The legislation refers to experience of increasing responsibility in law enforcement. And we felt as a commission that it was important for persons who were applying for the job to understand what was required of them, what were the basic requirements for the job. And we felt that that term needed some explanation, and the commission ought to have a policy which will show how we will interpret and apply that term. So we are in fact in the process of completing that policy. Again, as with the relevancy policy, that will be made public and be made public prior to our advertising the post, so that persons who wish to answer the advertisement can know exactly what we are looking for. I hope I've answered that question, except with respect to the job description part of it, and I will ask either DPA or the DPA is going to deal with that.
Well, before that, I would like to just mention, I noticed that the requirements had actually now asked for a master's in criminology, a master's in law, and actually seem to put in a more educational aspect rather than experience. So it's looking towards that. But, I'm wondering, in terms of persons who already had like LLB and, completed the LEC, would this now put them at a disadvantage? Are they now having this degree? So I'm wondering if, while I understand the need for better educated commissioners of police and deputy commissioners of police, I'm wondering if restricting it to a master's of, just the master's, if persons with a fledged, LLB, LEC, if they would be considered, or just persons with bachelor, have some sort of a first degree, if that will suffice. And while I'm going with this, I noticed this change of policy was the police, the union, the union that they have existed, were they consulted in this? Because, you made this association, the police association, because you may have had some persons there already with a law degree, but not having a master's degree, to think they may somehow be, disenfranchised from the process. But I understood you said you're still working out that policy. So I don't know if those things are under consideration, and also consideration of community service, because you may have someone with a master's degree, but remember community service, going into schools, doing that part, all these things. I'm wondering if you all are going to be considering these aspects also.
Let me say that, unfortunately or fortunately, we have to work within the constraints of the law. So that the legal notices require a certain qualifications and certain experience, and we need to work with that. We can't, insofar as our recruitment process is concerned, we will have to comply with that. That if we don't write young lawyers like this, Latridial will take us to court very quickly. So let me try and clarify. When I say that we are working out the little ambiguities, there are particular ambiguities. One of the ambiguities is not the requirement of a master's degree, unfortunately, but the type of degree. So that's, we have to work within our constraints, fortunately or unfortunately. So our two areas would be the type of degree, given how the legislation is worded, and how do we interpret increasing responsibility in law enforcement. We have done the relevancy policy, the relevant degree policy, and we are now working on the increasing responsibility in law enforcement. But again, we are constrained by what is required by the legislation. Insofar as consultation is concerned, I'm afraid the change to include a master's degree happened, I think, in 2019. So that is before our time. I don't know if there was any consultation, but we certainly hope that if the intention is to change the experience or qualifications required for all the posts, that the commission will be consulted in the future. I think that we have, we not necessarily this commission now, but soon we will have the expertise to assist in this aspect of the drafting of the legislation. So perhaps, Mr. Chairman, if I've answered that part of the question, I can just ask the DPA to deal with the job specification, job description part of the earlier question.
Chairman, before we move on to the job description part, I think I want to add to what it is the chairman was saying, where it is she indicated about consultation, and add the fact that when it is the commission was determining its relevancy policy, it had not necessarily consultation, but engagement with key stakeholders in determining how it is to define the issue of relevancy. So that is critical for the committee as well as the public to be aware of. And I will then pass you on to Ms. Warner, who will speak to the issue of the job descriptions.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. The Office of Commissioner of Police, the job specification for that office is dated, I believe, 2015, which is prior to the legal notice. We have not had a job specification for the office since then. We've relied on the requirements of the legal notice. And although it predates the legal notice, we still use aspects of the job specification, the list of duties, the knowledge, skills, and abilities. We utilize what is there to enhance our recruitment process over the years. With respect to the office of the Deputy Commissioner of Police, there are 3 job descriptions, because there are 3 distinct areas for the DCOPs. And again, we rely on those in crafting our job, crafting any recruitment process. But we've not had an updated job specification for those offices, mainly because we have the legal notices, and I believe the legal notices will trump any job specification. So we do rely on those. So I'm not sure, I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, you did. Thank you. So I'm just wondering, if they're going to change from one one set of requirements to another. I know sometimes they may grandfather a little sunset period for those people who were probably hoping to come in with whatever qualifications they have, to still have that avenue within a period of time to apply before the full law sets in. So it's just that. At this stage, I think Member Ayanna Webster-Roy want to pose a question.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the Service Commission, I wanted to understand, Mr. Harrison, how do you think the Service Commission in your department can better support the Police Service Commission to achieve its mandate?
In order for the Police Service Commission to achieve its mandate, basically we need, one, funds. We also require staff in a stable environment, so therefore the organizational structure is critical. Chair indicated the issue of the appeals unit, and therefore, in order for us to support the commission, we need staff who would be able to provide that support to the commission. The issue of building, the building is sufficient. However, we still need certain specific things, which again goes with the issue of funding. But primarily, it's about funding and support staff in order for the Secretariat to provide that support to the Police Service Commission.
Thank you. I wasn't hearing you quite well, but I picked up most of what you were saying. Mr. Chairman, if I may, through you to Madam Justice Jones. Madam Justice Jones, how can this commission be better supported so that you're able to fully achieve your mandate?
Right. I think I'm going to have to repeat what the EPA has said. It is key for us to have the staffing situation and the structure settled. The recommendation for the change of structure arose primarily so that we can function properly in the change environment. You will recall that I think it's in 2006, the law changed, and the focus of the commission was then centered on the police commissioner, the deputy police commissioners, performance appraisals in that regard, and some overview towards the management. And of course, this is the appeals procedure. For us to satisfy the constitutional mandate, we must have the staff. We must have, first of all, persons on staff who can help us fulfill that aspect of our job. We must have staff that is comfortable and that understand that their service is recognized. Because of the approach of changing the structure of the commission, we have not been able to fulfill our duty to the staff. I think that's probably a fair way of putting it. So that is absolutely crucial to our fulfilling our constitutional mandate. And of course, we need the money, we need the finances to be able to, we have to advertise for the post. We need to be able to advertise. We have, to attract the level of staff that we require, we are going to need the money to do so. So I think the key thing is the restructuring, the finances, and I suppose once we get those two things on board, we are well on the way to meeting our constitutional mandate. I think we have the commission, if I say so myself, is a good commission. We are anxious to get things done. We are committed to Trinidad and Tobago and to trying as best as we can to deal with the situation that the country finds itself in. It's not an easy task. And again, if we have the tools, we can certainly go a long way to meeting our constitutional mandate. I don't know if the DPA wants to add anything to that.
I think you've covered it, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
So, Madam Justice, I'm happy to hear that you identified you need transcriptors and certain members of staff. But I'm wondering now, since Price Waterhouse is no longer involved in researching and looking for suitable candidates, and it may be under your purview, do you, when you are looking at candidates, do you, for instance, of the top positions, do you go into the what I'm saying, the financial, the finances in terms of if we have, for instance, I know you're in charge of disciplinary procedures, but let's say a candidate is applying and are the top positions really, do they have to apply to the integrity commissions, put their forms in terms of looking at any sort of financial problems that may occur? Somebody may come into office, leave office after. So is there, does the police commissioner office and the deputy police commissioner, do they have to are they, their office, are they really needed? Is it necessary for them to do that? Or do you need some sort of forensic auditor or someone there that could look into their accounts? Is that part of your mandate to do those background checks? Do you need that staff available for you to say, hey, a candidate is coming in, you ask them to declare, their accounts, whatnot. Is that come under your purview? Do you need a forensic auditor? Do you need somebody with that capability to look in? So, persons may not be out there be saying that there are persons in office who maybe have ill-gotten gains. So I'm just asking you, do you need that caliber staff?
Chairman, as indicated, we have not ourselves conducted recruitment as yet. But I have looked at the recruitment process that was established in the past, and one of the things that is done is that SSA, right? Am I correct? There's a in-depth security vetting at some stage of the process. I cannot at this stage, and I'm sure the DPA will help us with what stage, but there's a very, very in-depth security vetting. I have looked at, what the type of vetting that was done in the past, and it's. I have to confess that I was quite, impressed with the manner in which it was done. I think, as I understand it, that there is some input from the FIU as well, so that again, I at this stage, we see, I personally, again, I'm quite comfortable with the level of security investigation that has been done in the past. And I assume that it will continue because in the future, I'm going to see if the DPA has anything to add to that, because of course, again, I am speaking from what I've seen, in the my perusal of past recruitment, the process.
Chair, I endorse everything you were saying.
Yes, Chair. I without going into specific details, at least you can give us an idea what is available for background checks to satisfy the public out there too, that things are you're looking out for the public's interest also.
Sorry, before the DPA, I forgot to ask that we also consult the police complaints authority.
Yes, Chair, I endorse everything you said. Where it is we utilize the services of the SSA. The SSA provides rigorous background checks of all candidates in the process. We also have credit checks as well, where it is the candidate will have to provide issues of bankruptcy. And one thing I need to clear up Chairman, you constantly use Pricewaterhouse. Pricewaterhouse weren't any consultant who did our assessment. Odyssey was the consultant who did the assessment for us, the last assessment, the BCOP assessment. But we do have rigorous background checks for all candidates as it relates to issues of finance, as issues relating to crime as well.
Someone in, so then let us say someone is going up for a position of a police commissioner, and hypothetically you're looking at police officers to give that information, and you may have the issue arising where he may claim that those same officers he may have disciplined in the past, or the same officers may have a grouse if he's, have been a very sort of draconian leader, or on his way up. So I mean, it's like you're dependent on officers to give you sort of a go ahead with a commissioner. And someone, if there's some sort of is the Police Service Commission comfortable with that? Should we look for independent personnel? Should we outsource, say, officers from Barbados to come in here and, do some investigation? Is it something that the Police Service Commission is entitled to, comfortable with? Seeing that a police commissioner may come and say, well, those guys who did my investigations may have had some sort of grounds against me.
Well, to some extent, there is the FIU is independent, and the police complaints authority is also an independent body. I mean, but I recognize that our options for investigation could be considered a bit limited. I could only say that if it arises that we are not sure, and again, I'm speaking, without discussing with my commission. But if it arises that issues arise in the course of the recruitment process, which cause concern, and we are not satisfied with, the reports or the response that we have gotten from the investigating officers, then we will have to put something in place. It's difficult for me now to ascertain what, because it depends on the particular situation. But I think that it clearly will be important enough for the Commission to devise a way or means of feeling comfortable with the investigation. I don't know if that is a...
Yeah, thank you. But so natural justice, I think, would probably ensure that you do tell the candidates that there are certain allegations against you and see their response. Because even now we are living in a world where you have social media misinformation, where the public may suddenly be fed information about somebody who may be applying for a position. So how heavily do you weigh into these? I mean, obviously it is really when official complaints go to the PCA that I think you would entertain that. But in terms of your vetting process, do you also, if there's things out in social media, would you factor that process into telling the candidates that certain persons may be spreading things or misinformation? Do you have a need for any sort of personnel to look into these things that are out there in social media?
Well, certainly. I mean, again, it's difficult to anticipate what we will do in certain circumstances, but if it comes to our attention that there are allegations, at whatever level of allegations, it's important for us to investigate and also give the person an opportunity of responding. That's fairness, that's justice, that's how we will have to operate. In terms of, I think that you are also asking whether we will monitor social, I'm not a social media person, I have to confess, so but we will monitor these aspects. But it would seem to me that in the process of the investigation, all of those avenues will be monitored. You know, there are interview. I assume that interviews with persons in contact with the individual, if there are allegations, they will be investigated and will come to us for our determination as to whether this is the person is a proper and fit person for the job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what it is I would add as well, in the past, when there was information that was received, be it social media, the Commission would take the opportunity during the interview to sort of inquire about those allegations, for want of a better word, and give the person an opportunity to be heard. And the Commission decide whether or not, based on what it is they heard from the social media and what it is they're hearing from the individual, and make a decision going forward. So we have always been given the person the opportunity to be heard when there are any allegations out there.
Thank you. Ms. Member Lachmidial, I think you have a question you wanted to pose.
Yes, Chair, I have quite a few now, actually, because, well, I'm interested in, firstly, so what I'm hearing is that there are 3 bodies, independent bodies, that would be used in this vetting process: the SSA, the PCA, and the FIU, all of whom are independent of the TTPS. But the experience of 2021, which has resulted in, well, the new Commission being here, and the fact that we don't have an appointed Commissioner of Police, and the fact that $124,000 was spent without any end results, there was an issue that arose with information coming to the Commission subsequent to the merit list being prepared. Despite all of that, as described by Mr. Harrison, as a rigorous vetting process, including credit checks and so on. Given that experience, has the Commission considered what would be its options moving forward because what I'm getting at is, should a situation like that arise again, information comes at you from many different sources. We've been talking about social media now, which is, it could be extremely reliable. It could range from extremely reliable to extremely malicious. So how does the Commission intend, when it's a legal process, because I'm concerned about there's a legal notice which details a process, which to me, the Commission is bound by. And if at some point when you are functus in your role, as per legal notice, something comes to your attention, how would you treat with it? Because that to me is something that no one knew how to deal with. And certain things may have happened, which was a cause of grave public concern. So has the Commission addressed its mind to that issue at all in light of what happened last year, so that we don't have a repeat?
I don't think the Commission has directly addressed its mind to that. I mean, what I would say is that what we certainly do is seek legal advice, to determine, what is what are the legal options open to us before making any decision. I think that's the best that I can say. Of course, each matter depends on, as you know, on the particular facts. But we will certainly, I think I can comfortably speak for the Commission and say that the Commission has shown a concern that it seeks legal advice where necessary. And I can say that this would be one of the situations where we will simply seek legal advice and then do the best that we can in the circumstances.
Has the Commission, through you, Mr. Chair, has the Commission considered the role of, well, I think maybe someone already asked us about an independent investigator being attached to the Commission, who is separate from any public bodies who may have had contact, or any other body that may have had contact with candidates and so on. or I think the chair alluded to this, someone outside of the jurisdiction even coming in to do investigations, just to be a little more thorough and to have a process that no one can criticize as being contaminated. And perhaps the DP could say whether or not funds would be available for something like that.
Well, before the DP says whether, but I think certainly this is a suggestion that we will certainly think about and take, it's worth exploring, and I can speak for the Commission. I think that we are prepared to consider whatever is necessary to ensure a fair and transparent and safe process with respect to the recruitment of a Commissioner of Police and the Deputy Commissioners of Police.
Well, I think the purpose of this committee is where it is we can actually get recommendation and try our best to see how it is we can implement those recommendations. So it's something that we will take and find the means, if necessary, if that's what the Commission so desires, and find the means necessary, because I think it would be beneficial if it is we have somebody independent or somebody, as you said, outside our jurisdiction who can perform that duties of investigator. So it's something that we will take into consideration.
Sure. And last question, Mr. Harrison, as I have you. In the event that this particular commission now, because I think Judge said they are considering it, in the event that they decide they are not outsourcing the recruitment and selection process, but they would like to do it in-house, you mentioned that the Service Commissions Department does in fact have resources. How soon could those resources be made available to the Police Service Commission? And, in order for them to get started on this recruitment and selection process, provided that they're not going to use a firm, but they want to do it in-house for financial or other reasons?
We would work with the time frame that the Police Service Commission set. We have did it in the past, and we would work with their time frame as well. But we must not use expediency as a crutch in order for us to not get the best person. I think we need to get the ideal candidate. We need to get the ideal persons to hold those two positions. So we don't want to rush it. We don't want to have to repeat ourselves or repeat our mistakes from last process. So while it is the country wants us to appoint or wants the Police Service Commission to appoint somebody as soon as possible, I think we must err on the side of caution, where it is we take our time, have robust testing, have robust vetting as well, so that we can get the ideal candidate for the position.
But are you convinced that the resources needed for that robust process are available in-house should the Commission decide that they are not outsourcing that function?
We have some.
And can they be made available?
We have some, and we can always make them available to the Commission. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I just want to add one thing, and I think it probably is important for me to, and this is the opportunity to say it. The Commission understands that the country is anxious with respect to the state of crime in the country and the appointment of a permanent police commissioner and permanent deputy police commissioners. We understand that, as I indicated earlier, we too are anxious. But I think, and I speak for the Commission in this regard, that it is important that we get the process right. There are many things that can delay the process and cause, and when you rush something and don't think it through properly, the delays caused by that could be even 3 or 4 times the length of time it would have taken if we sat down and looked at everything carefully. So yes, the country is correct to be concerned. The Commission has been in office for 6 months. The country has not seen anything happening, but a lot has been done and a lot is being done. But we have to ensure that we get it right. The country deserves nothing less than that. And the people of Trinidad and Tobago deserve that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank you for that, and I agree with you. We need to get it right. And remember, in the past, we have been waiting years sometimes with an acting police commissioner. But I'd like to inquire this. In your second submission dated April 2022, you stated that a mixed methods approach is used to assess the performance of the commissioner and deputy commissioners of police, which comprise both result-oriented and competency-based components. Now, seeing that we may have a delay because we're trying to get it right, and we may have our acting commissioner of police in office for a while, is there any, is the incumbent subjected to any sort of appraisal methods? How do you monitor our incumbent, seeing that he may be in office, for a while?
Yes, I mean, we certainly monitor the fact that the person in office is acting does not prevent the procedures that are in place in terms of the Constitution and in terms of how we manage the performance of appraisals going forward. And in fact, that is a continuing and ongoing process that is not dependent on whether the person in the office is acting or not. I hope that has answered your question.
So is the Police Service Commission of the view that the current performance appraisal method is adequate in assessing the competencies of the commissioner and the deputy commissioner of police?
Perhaps I can put it this way. There is a system in place, and that system continues to operate. The commission is looking at the performance appraisal system or process that is there, and is considering whether there are any things that we can do to improve it. But again, that is also an ongoing process. We have a subcommittee that is in fact doing that as we speak. But while we are doing that, the existing system continues. And at this stage, I can't say whether we are going to make any changes or not, but what I can say is that we are considering if there needs to be an improvement to the system.
Well, I guess as you are in office for longer, you'll be in office for a longer period, and you may decide, what improvements you may need in that aspect. The 2020 annual report of the Police Service Commission indicated that no performance appraisals were done for the deputy commissioners of police due to short-term acting appointments. So this is why I was wondering, has the commission established a minimum period of service that an acting deputy commissioner of police must complete before he or she is subjected to performance appraisal?
I'm sorry, I now understand the question. I think I'm going to ask the DPA and or the
we will pass on to Ms. Basrat to respond to this question.
So at present, the framework does not establish. At present, the framework does not.
Yeah, I think we have to mute some of your devices and just have your own. Thanks.
So at present, the current framework does not establish a minimum period someone must be acting in order to be appraised. And that is one of the considerations right now of the subcommittee who's looking into the performance appraisal framework in place.
Could you give me the members of the subcommittee?
Yes, the members of the subcommittee would be members of the commission. Members of the commission. It is a subcommittee of the commission. I don't know if it is that you want me to identify the specific members.
Yes, thanks. Yes.
I do feel a bit uncomfortable doing so, Mr. Dialsing, but I suppose I will have to.
You can provide it in writing if you so like.
We'll provide it in writing.
Thank you. Yeah. At this stage, would any other member have any further questions to pose to the Commission? I guess so. Well, one other question I have. As there's a new Police Service Commission, do you have like a communications protocol where confidential issues that you may have had in your discussions would not reach the public domain? Emails find its way in the public domain. Is there a proper etiquette on how to handle disagreements within your commission? Do you need someone with that training? For instance, when the independent senators were appointed, we were briefed of how we were supposed to behave by the president's office, and we had a 2-day seminar. Persons coming into your commission, new members, do they have any sort of engagement where they are told what's that? Yeah, how to actually conduct their services? In fact, do you have a dedicated secure email for your members now that they are within the police service commissions? Yeah, sure. Yeah, the DPA could answer that also. Anyone could probably answer that question. Yeah. So.
Well, I think, Chairman, while we do not have we have not had any training or exposure in this regard, I think that what I can say is that we have all seen what has happened in the past. And, certainly I speak for the whole commission and we learn from that experience. Yes, there is a dedicated email that we have been advised assists in the confidentiality of our communication. And of course, at an individual basis, each member, particularly given, the circumstances that arose in the recent past, is very, very concerned about confidentiality and, even by way of mistakes, ensuring that what is said and what is done within the commission, I'll say 4 walls, but you know what I mean, remains there. I think we had also given you a written response with respect to some of the security aspects that we have put in place with respect to communication. So I don't know if you want me to repeat that, but it is there in writing. And I don't know if Harrison wants to add anything to that.
Also, the oath of secrecy.
Yes.
We have the oath of secrecy with all members of the commission as well.
Chair, can I ask one question, please?
Sure, member.
To the, I think this would be to the Police Service Commission. Concerns were raised about acting appointments, given when it came to our attention that the new notices now that parliamentary approval would be required for acting appointments. And a concern was raised about how tedious it might be for short periods of acting to have to go by way of notification to the Parliament. Is that something that the Commission has considered making any recommendations with respect to having a period of time, like let's say under 5 days or whatever it is, for short appointments for acting in the absence of the Commissioner of Police, just to minimize the amount of red tape and bureaucracy that is needed, or do you feel that parliamentary oversight, even for acting appointments, is something that is still necessary, given the present notices and how it operates?
Ms. Lachbilia, we have to comply with the law. The position that we're faced with now is that we will require parliamentary approval for all acting appointments. We will put things in place to ensure that we can get to Parliament as soon as possible in this regard. I can't, confirm that Parliament will work swiftly in that regard, but I can only assume that in the interest of the security and safety of Trinidad and Tobago, that everyone will do their part to have these appointments made as soon as possible. I don't know if I've answered your question, but I think that's the best I could do in this circumstance.
Well, the question really was whether you, as a commission, whether you've considered making any representation to alter that process as required presently by the legal notices.
I think I would say at this stage, no. And I would say that because, to be frank, we are at this stage engaged in playing catch-up.
Okay.
We are, there are a lot of things that the commission would like to do, but we can't even think about that now.
It's just not on your radar at the moment. I get it.
But certainly we take that on board and work with that as soon as we are able.
Thank you very much, Judge. I appreciate your frankness.
Are any members like Ms. Maxine Atong willing to share any other information? Do you have anything you want to share with us? Any thoughts you'd want to give us as we're coming to a close? Who other members? Mr. Ian Ramdani, Kavita Basrat.
Thanks, Chair. I would just like to say that it is really a unique opportunity to be with Ms. Jones and the other members of the Commission. And I really am very happy and honored to have the opportunity to serve the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ramdani, any sort of a comment you'd like to make also?
Hi, good evening. I am looking forward towards the assistance that this Service Commission, the Joint Select Committee can provide us with our recommendations and their recommendations to the necessary institutions to assist us in achieving our objectives that we have and our mandate that we have towards the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So we look forward in a way our recommendations and your recommendations can bear such fruit.
Thank you. Ms. Kavita Basrat.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Ms. Basrat is a member of the Service Commission's department. She's not a member of the police.
Okay. So at this stage, I must say I have to thank you for the positions you have taken up. It's an opportunity to serve your country. It's not an easy job, especially now that you have to build the confidence back into the country in terms of the choosing important functions of, choosing a commissioner of police, deputy commissioner of police, a fully independent persons in that position who can serve the public. So therefore, at this stage, I'm happy to say that we are here to provide you with the tools. You have to identify the tools, and then we have to work with the DPA, and our recommendations would be to try to get any sort of tools that you may need to help in the process of getting these individuals chosen. And as we are coming to a close, any of my members would like to make any comments or ask any questions again? I guess not. So at this stage, I would like to invite Justice Judy Jones, Chairman of the Police Service Commission, to give us some brief closing comments.
you didn't put those on your instructions to us, but quite briefly, and I want again to thank the committee for the opportunity of putting to you, to Parliament, and to the country, our position with respect to the Police Service Commission. It is, and I speak for the Commission, it is an honor to serve Trinidad and Tobago, and we hope that we can serve well. Again, I thank the committee because you've given us the opportunity of indicating what we need to perform our duty as required by the Constitution, and I think that is invaluable. I anticipate that we will be meeting again, and I welcome it. And I think, again, I want to commend the chairman and the members for the manner in which the proceedings have been conducted. I myself have been before the Joint Select Committee once before in a long time ago in another incarnation, and I was not quite sure of how the reception, what the reception would be like this morning. But I'm very pleased that we have both been able to take forward the mandate of the Police Service Commission, and I hope that we have been able to explain and answer all the questions in sufficient manner that we can both move forward together in this regard. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members.
Thank you, Justice Jones. Mr. Corey Harrison, could you please give us some closing comments?
Yeah, members, I thank you for this opportunity. Again, this is our third incarnation of discussions on the institutional strengthening as it relates to Service Commission's department. What it is I would want to see and what it is I want to reiterate is the issue of the committee being that support for us to be able to get funding and our resources required. This is the message I need to send to not only the public, but for the committee to provide that support for us. It has been a pleasure, and I take this opportunity to say thank you.
So definitely we need Justice Jones's committee to succeed, to help the country. We definitely need Mr. Harrison to provide the staff. And this morning, I think we identify certain issues that, we would be able to move forward with. It's really for the country's benefit, and we are all here, forget whatever mistakes were made before. We are all here to move forward to see if we can put things in place to prevent any unfortunate events happening again. So at this stage, I would like to thank the officials of the Office of the Director of Personal Administration and the Police Service Commission for your contribution in today's proceeding. I would like to thank my committee members who participated remotely, the staff of the Office of Parliament for your procedural and logistical support, and the viewing and listening audience. At this stage, I'd like to declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair.
Very much.